So I'm gonna guess that you've been told coziness has something to do with candles and throws and warm lighting, but science will tell a deeper story. And that's because 80% of how we perceive comfort in a space is psychological and not physical. So that's exactly why we're diving deep into the psychology of cozy today in the context of a studio apartment. And the reason I'm doing that is because if you can make a studio apartment cozy because it's one space, it's small, if you can make that cozy, you can make anything cozy. So let's go. Hi guys, I'm Louie. I'm an architect and designer, and I am obsessed with design. And here on The Interiorist, we talk about all things interiors, architecture, and just how to create fun, functional, gorgeous interiors that match you. So if you're into that, go ahead and subscribe. Some of you might remember that a couple of weeks ago, I mentioned that I was waiting for 25,000 followers to finally get rid of this scratch right here that bothers so many of you and bothers me as well. And right now we are at 10K. I'm really proud of that, guys. Before we get into the video and everything, I just wanted to thank everybody who's here every week, who shows up to watch the videos, who subscribe, who comment and leave, all these interesting tidbits, your tips that you guys leave each other, and, just kind of telling me about your own design journeys. I really appreciate it. And I really appreciate, that, I guess it's just good to know that the work I'm putting in here on this channel is paying off and is being helpful because, besides my family life and work, it actually is quite a handful to have decided to start a YouTube channel. So I'm doing my best to get here every week with something good for you guys. I know we still have a lot of technical difficulties and things that we need to work through. But, just so you know, I don't have a team. It's just me and my sister-in-law, and she's editing for the first time. And I'm doing this for the first time. So hopefully, we'll get better and better, and we'll be able to bring you even more useful information. So I just wanted to say thank you. So thank you. So let's dive right into step number one, and that is program and zoning. And the reason for that is because one of the biggest challenges of living and designing a studio space is that everything happens within the same space. So eating, living, entertaining, working, everything is happening in one room. Now, that is why zoning becomes so important, and here's the research to back it up. Research shows that when small spaces are clearly divided into zones, people rate them as 25% more comfortable and 35% less cluttered. That's because zoning will help your brain make sense of the environment and give it visual cues for rest and calm. So here is how we're going to apply it to your space. We are going to start by defining the program. And I've mentioned this in another video, which interesting enough didn't get as many views, but I think it's actually one of the better videos in the sense of it will teach you how to design a room step by step from start to finish, but going through a step-by-step as an architect would. So you're going to consider things like flow and constraints and programs and less of mood boards and style and all that. So it's a lot more about how to make a functional space. I really suggest it if that's something that you're into, have a look. But basically right now for our studio, what we need to define is what the space needs to do for us, and that will be our program. So in this case, we're going to keep it simple because we're talking about a small space. So we're going to go with living, eating, and sleeping. And if we can, we will slip a workstation in there somewhere, wherever it fits. Because if you can't, that's okay too. But let's try and do it, because if you have a nice spot to work from, it'll be better. So here are some quick tips to get you guys started. You can use rugs or lighting to define areas. A pendant over a table instantly creates a dining zone, and a rug will define a zone all on its own. So use those. Also divide with furniture. For example, a low bookcase or sofa back can act as a subtle partition. And you also want to create movement boundaries. Now that means positioning your bed or your sofa so there's a natural flow between areas and not a direct line from door to pillow, for example. And for renters, try removable room dividers, curtains, or folding screens because they will provide visual privacy without construction. So the key takeaway here is that zoning isn't about putting up walls, it's about visual cues. And if you organize your space through activities, your brain will actually find it a lot more calm and a lot more clear and therefore a lot more cozy. So now that we've gone through actionable tips for zoning, what's important to do is just kind of draw out a floor plan. Now, I always say it's nothing fancy. You can use an app if you want, but you can just sketch it out on a piece of paper and you're going to place all of your different zones within that floor plan. So for example, on our example floor plan with 300 square feet, I am going to tuck the bed into the corner where it is near the bathroom, but also in a nook zone so that it feels more intimate. It will reduce noise and will also keep the bed away from the early morning light, which comes in from the east window. Now for eating, I'm going to keep it simple and just keep it close to the kitchen. And right below that, we're going to go with living so we can have a nice little space for entertaining and relaxing. All right, quick timeout before we move on to step number 2, because I want to go through layout with you guys. And the reason for that is because the zoning, the way you structure your space, it really should match your lifestyle. And so I'm going to take 300 square feet and show you guys different types of layouts according to whatever your priority is going to be. First, we have the bedroom-focused studio. If your studio is mainly for rest, make it feel like a luxury hotel room. You can focus on big, comfy bed with layered bedding, a small corner table, and a simple kitchenette. Keep extras minimal to maximize calm and relaxation. Next, we have the living room focused studio. For homebodies or socializers, you want to tuck the bed in a corner and dedicate most space to lounging and entertaining. Use a divider or curtain for separation, add comfy seating, and keep the kitchenette functional as a mini bar or a cooking spot. Also, plants add warmth and softness. And finally, we have the home office studio. So if you work from home, carve out a quiet corner for a desk and chair away from the bed. Use a screen or partition to define the workspace and keep supplies organized. Clear zoning helps your brain switch between work and relaxation. All right, hopefully that helped you guys visualize how the same 300 square feet can give you multiple layout options. Okay, for step number 2, you want to define your style. And the reason for that is because visual cohesion is actually a key factor for comfort and for coziness. So when you start repeating colors, textures, patterns, shapes, you start to create a unified vision throughout all of your different zones, and that is going to make you feel much more at ease in your space. And here is what the science says on this. In psychology, this reduces what's called cognitive overload, the strain the brain feels when processing too many unrelated stimuli. Studies also show that cluttered or visually disorganized spaces increase cortisol, our primary stress hormone, while cohesive environments help regulate it. And finally, experimental and neural studies show the visual brain is sensitive to coherence, familiarity, and hominess. Interiors that score high on these dimensions elicit more positive responses. So here's how we're going to apply this into your home. We are going to define your style by creating a mood board where you are going to sum up all of the references and all of the beautiful images, fabrics, textures, shapes, everything that you find that speaks to you, you're going to put it into a mood board. And then you're going to realize you have all these beautiful images, but still no real compass as to what to do next. And that is when you define your mood board with 3 words, because those will be your guiding style pillars for when you are making decisions throughout your decorating of your studio apartment. So when you're buying, when you are deciding what goes where, those 3 words are something that you can come back to. So there can be something like minimal, tactile, and artistic, for example. I mean, whatever they are, they will be your compass for the next steps. And also, if you need more help on figuring out what your style is, last week I put out a video, which is really fun, and it just kind of tries to match Enneagram personality types with different styles by matching the characteristics of the personality with the characteristics of the style. Now, I think this is actually quite fun because a style should reflect your lifestyle and, the things you like, your personality. Because, for example, if you're someone who doesn't like cleaning, you probably don't want a maximalist home where you're going to have lots of different items that you're going to have to dust constantly. So it really should match your lifestyle and your personality. Have a look at that video. I think it might be helpful. You're going to choose a palette and stick to it across walls, textiles, furniture finishes. It doesn't have to be neutral or monochrome. It just has to be intentional. So you're going to pick 3 to 4 colors, a primary, a secondary, and 1 or 2 accent tones. And you're going to repeat them across textiles, artwork, and furniture. And if you need more help with color, check out my color palette inspiration pack for more inspo on mixing colors and how to use the 60-30-10 rule for color proportions. Also, we want to add texture for depth, so think wool, linen, raw wood to bring warmth without any visual noise. And of course, we are going to hide the visual clutter by sorting mismatched items in bins or baskets where they are kept out of sight. The takeaway is that visual cohesion equals comfort, because the more cohesive and organized and structured your space is, the less work your brain has to do to feel at ease. And what is comfort if not, what is coziness if not feeling comfortable and safe in your space? Okay, we're ready to move on to step number 3, which is all about furniture and storage. And furniture in small spaces is very important because it will play multiple roles. And I've also found out that furniture that is adaptable or that gives you some kind of control is beneficial for coziness. And that is because the sense of control and autonomy is deeply linked with comfort and belonging. Now, beyond that, furniture can also act as a divider between your zones, so you have to consider them carefully and choose the right scale. And also it will give you storage for all of your visual clutter so that you can tuck it away. So it is extremely important, and I can't emphasize this enough, if you live in a small space, you want to consider your furniture in the smartest way possible. Here is what the research says on furniture. Studies on personal control in interiors show that being able to control and reconfigure your environment significantly raises comfort. One review suggests 25 to 40% improvements in comfort measures when occupants have small, direct controls or adaptive furniture strategies. Another study showed clutter and disorganization negatively impact cognitive functioning, so furniture that enables storage and keeps surfaces clear supports mental health and perceived comfort. And here's a quick tip. Natural materials and textile-rich interiors activate brain areas tied to calm and reward and are rated 15 to 25% more welcoming than synthetic finishes in some studies. Plus, soft textiles, rugs, curtains, that kind of thing also reduces perceived noise by 10 to 15 decibels, which helps relaxation and calm. So you're going to choose furniture that adapts to your lifestyle, not the other way around. So in small spaces, every piece should earn its place by being appropriately scaled, multifunctional, and aligned with your style and mood. So you can start by making a list of what each zone actually needs. So for our living, we're going to go with sofa, coffee table, TV, and media console. And if you want extras, you can add in an armchair, rug, lamps. The extras I'm just adding here in case you guys have a little extra room and you want to pop something else in. But for sleeping, we're going to go with bed, closet, bedside table. For eating, we're going to go with table and 2 chairs. And if you want extras, you can just add more chairs for guests or a pendant light. And for working, we're going to go with a table and chair. And once again, if you have the space, you can add on. Then you're going to revisit your floor plan from step 1 and visualize where everything goes. So this helps you see what fits, what doesn't, and where you can layer functions. So like you can turn a dining table into a workspace or using your bed wall for vertical storage. Now, before you go out and start buying a bunch of furniture, just kind of stop and take stock of what you have, okay? See what you can reuse. Remember, scale is important. So see what fits, see what you can use, see what can be thrifted or bought secondhand, because like chairs, rugs, lamps, that kind of thing, you can find really easily at thrift stores and quite a large variety. So you could save there. And if you're going to splurge, then splurge on what is really important. So for example, if you have a larger couch, but you need a small compact size couch for your studio apartment, then you're going to spend on that. Or if you need something specific for storage, you're going to spend on that. So this is where you're going to spend on the things that are vital that you don't have that need to fit your space and functional aspects of your studio. You want to opt for multifunctional furniture, so try a daybed with drawers, a lift-up coffee table, or a desk that doubles as a vanity. You also want to use vertical space. Tall shelving draws the eye upward and keeps floors clear, making the room feel taller. You can also hide storage in plain sight, so ottomans, benches, side tables with lift-up tops double as storage and seating. And also, try pegboards, hooks, or modular wall rails that can organize anything from coats to tools, and they grow with your needs. But remember, Control is the name of the game when it comes to coziness, so prioritize adaptable furniture like a fold-away chair, an extendable table, a coffee table on wheels that can get pushed away, that kind of thing. Now we're moving on to step number 4, and that is, drum roll please, lighting. That is absolutely right. There is no way I'm going to talk about comfort and coziness in small spaces without talking about lighting. That is because lighting is one of the strongest psychological cues that we have in a space. It will define focus. It will define order and spatial organization. It will even make you feel warmer. And that is how it helps with coziness. If you feel warm, if you feel embraced, if you feel in control in an organized space, that rhymed, well, then you will have done lighting right. And to prove it, here's what I found. Warm, indirect lighting strongly increases comfort and positive response to interiors. Studies report comfort increases in the 27 to 45% range with warm, indirect lighting, and layered lighting, which means ambient, task, and accent, improves perceived comfort by about 32%. Also, good daylight integration supports visual comfort in tasks and generally links to restorative feelings in indoor spaces. Let me just parentheses and say that there is a lot of research on lighting. I mean, a lot on comfort, on many different aspects of how we perceive comfort. And so I've mentioned the sources I use for this video below in the description. And of course, I'm summing it up. But if you want to do a deep dive in lighting, I recommend it. Have a look at all the stuff that's out there because you can completely change the space if you light it appropriately. So here's how we're going to apply all of this beautiful lighting into your space. First, we're going to layer it. So we don't want to just rely on the overhead lights that we have. We're going to combine a ceiling fixture with a floor lamp and a small table lamp. We're also going to prioritize warm light temperature, so choose bulbs around 2700 K for a cozy glow. Dimmers are inexpensive plugins, and they will make a huge amount of difference when it comes to controlling ambiance and your environment. So remember, control improves comfort, so if you can add a dimmer, do that. Also, use reflection. Just place lamps near walls or mirrors to bounce light and reduce glare, and that way you get a little bit more control over how you're lighting your space. Pop the champagne because we have made it to step number 5, and that is final decor touches. And this is the fun part. We have already gone through our program, our zones, our lighting, our furniture, storage, everything that is important to design a cozy studio space. And now all we have to do is put that cherry on the top and make it perfect. So this is where we're going to add in all of our personal stories, all of those layers of decor that kind of just make the space reflect you. And here's the research I found on decor. Research shows that familiarity and meaning predict coziness better than furniture size or cost. So instead of splurging on a super expensive sofa or chair, maybe just thrift a chair that looks like one that your grandfather used to own, because that will give you a sense of place attachment, that will make you feel more cozy, and it's just gonna work better than something that is brand new. Also, spaces that include personal elements like books, art, photos are rated 40% higher in the desire to inhabit scores. And finally, rooms using natural materials like wood and textiles are perceived as 15 to 25% more welcoming. So here's how to apply it. You are going to bring in all of those beautiful objects that feel personal to you, and you are going to mix it in with a bunch of natural materials to kind of give it layers and make it ultra cozy. We are going to display those personal items, photos, travel mementos, or art that inspires you. We are also going to add softness, so rugs, curtains, and throws, because they don't just look cozy. Remember I said they could reduce 10 to 15 decibels, and that will make your space literally calmer. Also use natural textures, which means wood, linen, wool, and plants will trigger brain areas linked to calmness and reward, and consider small control for big comfort. So keep a throw or lamp nearby. Having those options can increase comfort perception by up to 40%. So just switching on and off that lamp for, an extra amount of light, or grabbing a throw to warm up your feet when it's cold, That is the kind of control that makes you feel comfortable. And finally, thrifted pieces and handmade items often add more meaning and evoke more memories than expensive decor. So try and find a balance between what's new and what's old in your space if you want it to be cozy. This is the most important takeaway from this whole video. Coziness, it's not a look, it's a feeling. So when we do all of the things that we've gone through in this video, we are designing to create a feeling that makes us feel comfortable, safe, familiar, and all of the characteristics that make a space cozy. All right, guys, hold on to your horses because that time has come. And if you know that on this channel, we promenade, and we don't just promenade, we promenade through history. And that is because, honestly, I'm a bit of a history nerd and I love it. And I love to share with you guys where things come from and how they have become an important part of our life and lifestyle. So today, we are going to talk about the history of comfiness through the perspective of hygge. And I probably butchered that. Here is the word. It is not pronounced that it is written. And I went on YouTube and I looked at pronunciation videos, and that's the best I've come up with. Seriously, I've been saying this word over and over all week to try and get it right. So please forgive me if I get it wrong, because I'm going to say it a lot throughout this next segment. But here's the important part. Hygge is a Danish concept for comfort and coziness, which I kind of love. So let's go through where it came from. Hygge. It's a Danish word with no exact English translation, but it roughly means a feeling of cozy contentment and well-being, the pleasure of simple things, and the comfort of being present. It's not about a specific activity or look, it's about a mood, a way of creating warmth and belonging wherever you are. The idea of hygge actually dates back to the Viking era, when long dark winters in Scandinavia demanded both physical and emotional warmth. For the Vikings, that comfort came from gatherings by the fire, sharing meals, and surrounding themselves with fur, wood, and candlelight. Small rituals that made survival feel a little softer. By the 18th century, hygge had become part of the Danish language and evolved into a cultural ethos, one that values intimacy, simplicity, and connection. Over time, it turned into more than just a word, it became a way of life. In Denmark, hygge shapes everything from interior design to work culture. It's why Danish homes often feel so inviting, lit by soft lamps, layered with natural textures, and designed for closeness. In recent years, hygge has spread around the world as people seek an antidote to busyness and digital overload. It reminds us to slow down, light a candle, share a meal, or curl up with a book to find comfort in the ordinary. Research from the Happiness Research Institute in Copenhagen even links hygge-related rituals to higher well-being and lower stress, which may help explain why Denmark consistently ranks among the world's happiest countries. At its core, hygge is about presence. It's the flicker of candlelight, the warmth of a blanket, and the quiet company of people you love. It's the emotional architecture of coziness, something that can be built just as intentionally as any home. Okay, so if I've accomplished my mission by now, you know not only how to design a studio apartment, but to design it for maximum coziness and the psychology behind what actually makes it cozy. Guys, thank you once again for spending this time with me. Thank you to all 10,000 of you for the support. It means so much to me. Really, thank you. And of course, remember that if you need more help pulling your home together, I have a home checklist and it is free, and it is in the description below. Go ahead, download it. It will go room by room with everything you need for each space, helpful guides, schematics, and just kind of make decorating easier for you. And I also have a color palette inspiration pack that will give you many different color palette options that you can mix together in your space. Compare them. It will also give you tools on how to choose and use color in your space. So if you need help with that, or if you just want something practical for color, go ahead and grab that too. And I will be back next week for more decor and more interiors and more design and more chit chat with all of you. So I'll see you then. Bye-bye.